Long before the pyramids rose over Egypt, before Stonehenge, before even pottery, writing, or metal, there was a settlement in the Jordan Valley, a place of mud brick homes and watchful eyes, a place many consider the oldest city on earth. This is the story of Jericho. 12,000 years ago, at the end of the last ice age, the world was warming. Glaciers retreated north, grasslands spread. In the Jordan Valley, near a powerful freshwater spring called es-Sultan, small bands of Natufian hunter-gatherers camped seasonally. They followed gazelle herds. They gathered wild barley and wheat. They buried their dead beneath stone and soil. For generations, life followed a rhythm as old as humanity itself. Move, hunt, gather, survive. But then the climate shifted again. Around 10,900 BCE, the Younger Dryas struck, a sudden return to cold, dry conditions. Rains faltered, wild cereals thinned, gazelle herds migrated unpredictably. What had once been abundant began to fail. And this was the first turning point. Families who had relied on mobility faced a choice: scatter farther into uncertainty or stay near water and adapt. At the spring of Jericho, some chose to stay. Imagine the scene: clusters of circular stone houses pressed close together, walls built from limestone blocks, roofs thatched with reeds. Inside, hearth fires flicker against plastered floors. Mortars carved into stone grind wild grain into coarse flour. Children carry water in skins from the spring. Elders sit near doorways, shaping flint blades sharp enough to skin a gazelle in minutes. But something new is happening. Instead of simply gathering wild cereals, they begin tending them, protecting patches, harvesting more deliberately, storing surplus grain in pits. For the first time, food security becomes something humans try to control rather than chase. With permanence comes pressure. More people arrive. The reliable spring draws families from the valley and beyond. The settlement swells, perhaps to several hundred inhabitants. That number may not sound extraordinary now, but in 9000 BCE, it was staggering. This was density humanity had rarely experienced. Crowding breeds tension. Food must be protected, resources guarded, and perhaps most frightening of all, other groups, equally desperate in a drying world, may be watching. This is the second turning point. Sometime around 8000 BCE, the people of Jericho undertook something astonishing. They built a wall. Not a symbolic boundary, not a light fence of brush, a stone wall nearly 4 meters high and 2 meters thick, encircling the settlement. And inside it, a massive stone tower over 8 meters tall, with an internal staircase of carefully set steps. Pause and imagine the labor. No metal tools, no beasts of burden, stone blocks hauled by human hands, dust rising in the desert heat, bare feet braced against earth, the tower growing slowly upward, season after season. Why build it? Some scholars argue defense, protection from raiders competing for food and water. Others suggest flood control from seasonal torrents washing down the wadi. Perhaps it was both. What matters is this: Jericho's people were thinking collectively, planning years ahead, organizing labor, creating leadership structures strong enough to mobilize an entire community. Conflict, environmental and social, had forged cooperation on an unprecedented scale. Inside the walls, life continued to evolve. Homes became more sophisticated, with mud brick superstructures and smooth lime-plastered floors. The dead were buried beneath the houses, close to the living. In some cases, skulls were removed, plastered, and carefully modeled with shells for eyes. Ancestors were not forgotten. They were kept present, almost watching over the household. Agriculture deepened its hold. Emmer wheat and barley were domesticated. Goats would soon follow. The people of Jericho were no longer merely adapting to nature, they were reshaping it. And yet Jericho was not a straight line of progress. Around 7000 BCE, the settlement was partially abandoned. Climate fluctuations, resource strain, or social upheaval may have driven people away. The walls weathered, the tower stood silent. For a time, the spring flowed past fewer voices. But Jericho did not die. New waves of settlers returned. They rebuilt. They layered new homes over old foundations. Century upon century, the mound, what archaeologists called Tel es-Sultan, rose higher, a stratified memory of human persistence. That is the final turning point. Jericho was no accident. It was not a miracle city appearing fully formed. It was a response to crisis, a gamble taken during climate instability, a bold experiment in permanence when mobility had always been safer. Its true founding was not just the stacking of stones. It was the moment humans chose to stay, to defend a place, to bury their ancestors beneath their floors, to plant seeds and wait, to believe that tomorrow would come in the same place as today. From that decision flowed everything we now call civilization: cities, governments, walls, monuments, inequality, cooperation, conflict. Jericho still stands in the Jordan Valley today, layered with the remains of thousands of years. Modern streets lie near the ancient mound. The spring still runs. And if you stand there at dawn, when the desert light turns the stones gold, you can almost hear it, the grinding of grain, the murmur of voices, the echo of footsteps climbing the tower stair. The first city was not built in triumph. It was built in response to fear. And in choosing to stay together, the people of Jericho changed the human story forever.